What if I told you the CIA's mind control program never really ended? Sounds like a conspiracy theory, right? But after you hear this, you might start to question what you believe is truly your own. In an eye-opening conversation between actress and neuroscientist Mayim Bialik and Harvard historian Rebecca Lemov, we are taken deep into the dark past of psychological manipulation and into its very real present. From secret CIA programs like MKUltra to the manipulation built into the apps we use every day, the tools of control have evolved but never disappeared. In this summary, I will take you through 10 powerful takeaways that will shift how you think about truth, freedom, identity, and control. Let's begin. Takeaway 1. The CIA never stopped mind control. Most people have heard of MKUltra. It was the CIA's secret project during the Cold War, aimed at developing mind control techniques using drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and more. But what most people do not know is that the mindset behind MKUltra never really disappeared. Rebecca Lemov explains how the government wanted to figure out if it could erase a person's identity and replace it with a new one. This went beyond spying. It became about total control. The case of Leonard Kyle proves how real this was. He walked into a hospital in the late 1960s claiming the government had implanted something in his brain. Everyone thought he was paranoid. But years later, it turned out he was right. Doctors had experimented on him using brain implants that allowed remote control of behavior. What makes this chilling is that some of these experiments were not just approved but encouraged. And although MKUltra was officially shut down in the 1970s, techniques similar to it are still being used today in military training, interrogation, and digital systems. That takes us to a terrifying follow-up. Takeaway 2. MKUltra wanted to erase identity. The most extreme goal of MKUltra was not just to control actions, but to create a new person entirely. Could someone be broken down so deeply that they forget who they are and start believing whatever their controller wants? The answer, sadly, was yes. The case of Patty Hearst is a famous example. She was kidnapped, locked in a closet, abused, and eventually took on the identity of her captors. She even participated in crimes with them. But this was not about choice. It was about survival. She realized that to live, she had to believe what they believed. This kind of transformation is not fiction. It has happened repeatedly throughout history. MKUltra was about weaponizing this process. The idea was to see how far control could go. Could a person become a living tool, a puppet with no memory of their former self? Some experiments attempted exactly that. And this raises an even more important question. Takeaway 3. Truth can be shaped and rewritten. If your identity can be erased, then your version of the truth can be reshaped too. This is what makes psychological manipulation so dangerous. It is not just about lying to people. It is about making them believe a new reality. In the digital age, this happens more often than we think. Rebecca Lemov explains how many people today feel mentally lost or disconnected. This feeling, which she calls ungrounding, is the result of constant emotional shocks. Small things like social media arguments, clickbait news, and endless updates can wear down our ability to think clearly. Once you lose your grounding, you are open to influence. You start believing things not because they are true, but because they are repeated or emotionally charged. This is how truth is quietly rewritten around us. Now, to understand how this manipulation works, we need to understand its tools. Takeaway 4. Brainwashing is just the beginning. Rebecca Lemov breaks down 3 related ideas. They are brainwashing, mind control, and hyper-persuasion. Brainwashing is the most extreme. It involves fear, force, and isolation. Mind control is more subtle. It changes your thoughts by changing your environment. Hyper-persuasion is the most common today. It uses emotion, repetition, and personalization to shape what you believe. Imagine watching videos on your phone. Each one is slightly more intense than the last, designed for your interests, your fears, your habits. That is hyper-persuasion. It does not force you. It guides you. It makes you think the thoughts are your own. That is why it is so effective. But the most powerful example of hyper-persuasion is something most of us use every day. Takeaway 5. Social media is designed to manipulate. You may think your social media feed is random, but it is not. It is carefully shaped to control how you feel. In one experiment, Facebook secretly changed what people saw in their feeds. Some saw more sad content. Some saw more happy content. The result? People started posting more of what they saw. Happy users posted happy things, sad users posted more negatively, and none of them knew they were part of a test. This shows that social media can change our emotions without us realizing it. Even worse, this kind of emotional control is part of the user agreement we all click without reading. That means we agree to be part of the experiment. Every scroll, every like, every share is feeding the system more data about how to control you. But what are they doing with that data? We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Your trauma is being turned into a tool. This is one of the most disturbing takeaways. Facebook and other platforms do not just watch what we post. They study how we feel. In one case, they asked people to write about the worst thing that ever happened to them. Then they used that writing to build software that could detect sadness, fear, and pain. This software helps companies target you better. If you are sad, you might be more likely to buy something. If you are angry, you might share a post that keeps you on the app longer. This is not about helping you heal. It is about keeping you engaged. Your trauma becomes a tool, a weakness to be used. So what happens when this kind of manipulation becomes part of law enforcement or national security? Takeaway 7. False confessions are disturbingly common. Most of us think we would never confess to a crime we did not commit. But that is not how the mind works under pressure. People who are deprived of sleep, isolated, threatened, or emotionally broken can start to believe anything. There are stories of innocent people who confess just to stop the pain or get out of a terrible situation. One story tells of a French doctor in China who was locked up, chained, and made to live like an animal. After weeks of this, he started to believe he was a spy, even though he was not. He confessed just to have the chains removed. This is not rare. It happens in prisons, in police stations, and in places like Guantanamo Bay. But you do not need to be in prison for this kind of control to touch your life. Takeaway 8. Your identity can be rewritten through trauma. When someone is in an abusive situation, their identity can start to shift. Over time, victims begin to believe what their abuser says about them. They may stop trusting their own memories or feelings. This is not just emotional. It is psychological reprogramming. Just like in brainwashing, the person becomes someone else. This is why survivors often say, "I do not recognize who I was." The trauma rewrites the story in their mind. They may even feel guilt or attachment toward the person who hurt them. That is not weakness. It is a human response to prolonged control, and it takes deep work to break out of it. So how does this kind of control usually begin? Takeaway 9. Manipulation often feels like love. One of the scariest facts about mind control is that it can feel wonderful in the beginning. In abusive relationships or cults, the first stage is often love bombing. The person makes you feel special, chosen, deeply understood. They want to know everything about you. It feels like a dream. But slowly they isolate you. They criticize others in your life. They make you depend on them for approval, identity, and truth. This is the same pattern seen in many cults and psychological traps. You do not even notice the control because it is wrapped in affection. By the time the abuse starts, it is hard to leave. So how can you protect yourself in a world full of subtle control? Takeaway 10. Most people feel mentally ungrounded today. Rebecca Lemov calls it ungrounding, and almost everyone feels it to some degree. It is the slow erosion of your mental balance. You check your phone too much, argue online, scroll through news disasters, and slowly feel more anxious and confused. This is not an accident. These systems are built to overwhelm you just enough to keep you coming back. Once you are ungrounded, you stop asking questions. You just react. And that is when you are most easy to influence. The first step to freedom is noticing the feeling. The next step is learning to pause, reflect, and reconnect to what you know is true. Mind control is no longer about secret labs and sci-fi fantasies. It is part of our everyday life. What the CIA started decades ago has quietly evolved into something more subtle and more powerful. What makes it even more dangerous is that you may not notice it happening. The tools look like apps, relationships, or even news articles. But the result is the same. Less freedom, less clarity, less truth. So here is the question. Who are you when no one is telling you who to be? And how much of what you believe is truly your own? Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and always question who benefits from what you believe. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.